Matt, what do we know about this Go technology and how it's been working so far?
Sure. So to rewind a little bit, Amazon's been working on Go for a long time. About 7 years they've been on the project. They opened up their first store here in Seattle to the public in January of 2017. And they've since rolled out 21 convenience stores where you just walk in, grab what you want, and go. And now there's been a lot of skepticism among analysts looking at that model, saying, listen, the margins on a corner store are not great. If you're putting all these cameras and other sort of people tracking software in the ceiling, you know, that's gonna weigh on it. So how can this chain really be sort of profitable and fit with Amazon's reputation for doing really big things and really big ideas? And so this expansion seems to be the next step for them.
And Matt, how does Amazon respond to those investor concerns?
So they haven't given a whole lot of detail on their Go roadmap. It's been a very secretive project, and they've only really recently begun to sort of let us in some of the details on the tech under the hood. And they haven't commented for our story, and they haven't really confirmed any plans at all on their expansion, aside from sort of further incremental new store openings on the sort of convenience store concept they've launched already.
Yeah, so you talked about 21 different locations so far. Any plans to make this a national rollout with the cashierless stores?
You know, there have been a bunch of large figures reported for what their aims might be, but the new bit that we are able to add is that they do plan to open supermarket-sized facilities. We've heard that the tech teams have been instructed to support spaces as large as 30,000 square feet, which is the size of a typical modern supermarket. We know they're also looking at smaller concepts, sort of a pop-up kiosk-sized model that might fit in a mall, sports stadium, or other area where you wouldn't want to spend a whole lot of time working with leased retail space. So we think that might be sort of the next vector after these convenience stores, so they continue to grow.
And Matt, arguably maybe the bigger story that caught my eye here was looking at licensing out the technology to other retailers. Who in your mind and reporting might be interested in this technology?
Well, if you talk to the competitors who are working on Amazon Go-like things, their answer is everybody. You know, everybody is looking at this sort of technology and trying to figure out whether kind of removing some of the cashier frustration experience might be a good fit for their industry. You know, Amazon, CNBC reported first a couple of months ago that Amazon had been in talks with Regal, the movie theater chain, as well as sports stadiums on potentially implementing a Go-like solution for them. You know, those companies haven't confirmed that, and so it's unclear exactly who's going to take them up on it, but we do know that at least right now they're planning to license this, or at least launch that program sometime early next year.
You know, Matt, as a consumer, I have to ask, how effective is the technology at preventing basic theft?
That's a great question, and I'm not sure they've ever commented on the theft stats. I do know somebody in testing, a journalist I think who was reviewing it, you know, accidentally wound up stealing something and it wasn't tracked, and Amazon just said, oh, we'll forgive it. They say that their system overall is pretty good at identifying correctly what you pick up, and in typical Amazon fashion, they say they'll make it right if they say that you walked away with something that you didn't in fact take.
You know, Matt, the tech sector is applauded for starting these new innovations and being so creative with this technology, and you certainly get excited when you see this. Just to play devil's advocate, though, have they responded to any of the concerns about cashiers who now maybe won't have jobs? I mean, we remember maybe high school or college, that was our first job, our first way to sort of get into the workforce. If those jobs no longer exist, how has Amazon responded to those criticisms?
Yeah, so they've been really sensitive on the labor angle. I mean, Amazon will point out that these stores are not totally unmanned. They have people, you know, stocking the aisles. They have people helping customers who don't know how the app works get in and get out. And so they've kind of made the case that, listen, we don't think this is first and foremost a way to cut staffers, at least right now, certainly. But in the long term, I think it remains to be seen. You know, cashiers are the second most common job titles in the U.S., so there's definitely a lot of concern. We saw some criticism today of our news from a big grocery union.